Oh no! Chieftain at tier 9! Everybody panic! Tiger 1 players, KV3, returning noobs who just got their Super Hellcat. No, no! Run for your lives! Run for the hills! Well, after taking a look at the initial stats for the FV4201 Chieftain Prototype, it is more or less like a STRVK. So it is a premium tier 9 British heavy tank. It could be the third premium at tier 9, but for now, okay, the stats are average. Well, above average, but it is super basic in a sense. It's not OP enough, or from my perspective, but it is like a souped up version of the original FV4202 at tier 10. So you'll get to see, but here are the HD pictures, and we'll go through the initial stats from the Supertest. So this cupola design dramatically reminds me of the large cupola from the original FV4202 before it got switched to tier 8. So back then it was at tier 10. So you can see the cupola size is pretty dramatic. Even so on the Blitz version too. So that was always the downside with the original tier 10 British medium tank, but it was a big weak spot. So it was like the original pattern for the M48 as well, but they changed it. So yeah, a lot bigger of a weak spot compared to the tier 10 version, the hybrid version with the T95, that's for sure. And the turret is not as sophisticated, I guess, so a little bit basic, but the hull design is practically the same, so give or take. So it looks like a souped up version of an FV4202 originally at tier 10. I would like to see more stuff like clutter, like crew equipments or belongings or consumables. Perhaps a Bren machine gun. They have a 30 cal, alright. But fuel drums, fuel tanks, fire extinguishers, alright. But yeah, it's a chieftain at tier 9. So it is menacingly, but that was mostly based off of the tier 10 reputation, not the tier 9 version. So yeah. It does have a somewhat large cupola ridge. So that is obviously the weak spot, but the Mk.6 Chieftain only has 80mm sloped upper plate. So it is well sloped, but it's only 80. This also applies to this vehicle. So armor wise for the hull is not as thick as the hybrid version at tier 10. That thing has like 120. So here are the initial stats. High penetration, well, above average penetration for the 120. 400 alpha is basic. Hesh round or HEP round, it should be Hesh, but decent enough pen for the high explosive squash head and larger alpha. Reload time is somewhat slow, only 12 seconds. I mean, that's about 2100 DPM, so it's more or less like the AE phase 1, if you will, or the STRVK for that matter. So DPM is not as high as the tier 10 version, but then again, it's also not as high as the M103. Alright, but accuracy is average, 0.36. 2.3 seconds of aim time is also average. 10 degrees of gun depression, 20 elevation. Has 59 rounds, which is a plus. Could use 10 more, but whatever. Crew of 4, similar to all the British heavy tanks, or medium tanks for that matter. So, actually, hold on a second. Why is there a radio operator, not a loader? That is new. Should be commander, gunner, driver, loader, not a radio operator. What the hell? Alright. I mean, it's not the same as the actual Chieftain at tier 10. That also applies to the Chieftain Hybrid, I guess, but what? Radio operator, not a loader. Yeah, the loader is also the radio operator, but they switched that around. So is the radio operator also the loader? But you cannot train radio operators, or unless you use like something from the Black Prince or something. Yeah, unless you're using a different crew. So you cannot train the loader from your Super Conqueror or the actual Conqueror. Okay, I guess you can only train stuff from like the Churchills or the Black Prince. That's a small gem or small defect, I guess, but okay. Top speed of 35, reverse of 12. Horsepower per ton ratio is 15, which is alright. Top speed is kind of low, so 35 is more in line with the M103, so it's not as fast as something like a Concept 1B. We'll get to that, but hull traverse 30 degrees, turret traverse 32, not bad, more like a medium tank, but fat medium tank. Health is slightly above average, 1950. Hull armor is only 80 at the front, 60 at the sides, 35 at the rear. Turret front is 350, but you saw the cupola size, and 110 at the sides, 35 at the rear. View range 400, radio range standard. Fires APCR for both gold and standard, and Hesh round for the high explosive. But characteristics are not final. It's the super test, obviously, but what is funny is the radio operator as well as the hull armor. So hull armor is very similar or practically the same to the actual Chieftain at tier 9 or tier 10 with the tier 9. So it's 85 at the front, 51 at the sides, 25 at the rear. So if it's the same sloping as the actual Chieftain Mk.6 that's not released, it's less than 174mm effective at tier 9. So that doesn't cut it for a tier 9 heavy tank. That could work for tier 8. It's still below average for tier 8, but tier 9, yeah, that's kind of bad. Unless you're hull down all the time, so smaller profile and a little bit more effective, but yeah, you have to go hull down all the time. Otherwise, you're more like a Lorraine 50T, so you get pinned all the time in your hull. We don't talk about the lower plate. Also, the cupola size is somewhat bigger. Well, still pretty big on the actual Chieftain Mk.6. So it's only 60mm effective. What the frick? Well, yeah, I guess. Okay. Is it the same gun? Well, it has more pen on the tier 10 version. Obviously better aim time, better accuracy, and a lot more DPM, but okay. It feels average. It really does feel average across all the boards. So with a 100% crew, why the hell did you put the radio operator? It's a loader. You guys are not consistent. Ah, God, you made me talk about the stupid idiosyncrasies of stuff, and you just put loader right there. What? I mean, it's the same with yeah, it's the same with the actual Chieftain. Come on, guys, sync up your stuff. Jesus Christ, it's not a radio operator. It's just a loader. You made me look stupid. I thought you can only train like radio operators from Churchills or Black Prince. I guess not. It's actually just a loader. God, you guys are not consistent. Alright, fine. 100% crew gives you about 2100 DPM. So, below average, but average for that pen, I guess. Alright. Accuracy 0.35, 2.21 seconds of aim time. Nah, it's workable for the 120, so nothing to complain, but hull armor is still 80 at the front. It is well sloped, and there is the driver hatch lip right here, so it could be pinned. It's kind of flat right there, so that might be a weak spot. This is definitely the weak spot for the commander cupola on top. It is a lot bigger than the actual Chieftain, but the actual Chieftain has a bunch of periscopes, sometimes blocking the shot, so sometimes it works, but it's still kind of bulbous at the top. Alright. Health, yeah, a little bit above average, but whatever. 50 tons of weight, 15 horsepower per ton ratio, 35 kilometers per hour top speed, 12 reverse, about 31 degrees traverse per second for the hull, and 33 for the turret. Camo, heavy tank, view range, it could be better, but 400 is basic, standard for allied vehicles like the Americans or the British. Why does this thing have 390? I thought it was going to be 420. Why does it have 390 for the Chieftain Mk.6? God, this thing needs a buff. This was introduced as the same time with the actual Switch with the FV4202. The FV4202 Switch happened before the Super Conqueror, so that's like 8 years ago or something. Oh, it's been a while, but 390 meters of view range for a tier 10 heavy? This needs a buff. This definitely needs a buff. It's not the same as the hybrid. The hybrid definitely has more view range. Brits, heavy. This is the actual hybrid. This is the testing version. So the hybrid has, or the actual version has the FV designation. So it has the more alpha version. And yeah, this thing has 410 meters of view range, of course. So this is the actual version of the Clan Wars reward, or the infamous or famous, whichever one you prefer. But the other one is more of a testing version. So the one with the Chieftain designation with the hybrid. So this one has less alpha. You can tell the difference by the alpha and the horsepower per ton ratio. This one's slower. And also it doesn't have the side skirt. So small details, but there's actually 3 chieftains at tier 10. 2 of those, or 3 of those, for the commoners, they cannot get. So only 1 for Clan Wars, and the other 2 are just relics, I guess. But alright. Okay. I mean, based on the stats, based on the average DPM, average-ish of accuracy, aim time, I would give it a, I mean, Chieftain P, so it's called a prototype chieftain, of course, but 59 rounds. Shell velocity is alright for APCR. Hash round is actually not bad in terms of shell velocity. Alright, gold shell is gold shell. I mean, everything looks the same up to code, so yeah, 2000 DPM baseline, of course. We'll take a look at the comparison later on. And here is the actual money shot. It is a premium tank. We'll make more credits. So for now, it is like the STRVK, but let's compare the actual stats to a STRVK. So here is the main comparison page. STRVK has about the same DPM, a little bit better accuracy, slower aim time-ish, 10 degrees of gun depression, less gun elevation, but a little bit. Less pen compared to the Chieftain Proto, but about the same-ish. Reload time is about the same-ish. Hull armor is kind of crap on the STRVK. That's given. Weighs less for the STRVK. STRVK has better horsepower per ton ratio and better top speed. And the same view range. So yeah, like what I predicted initially, it's like a STRVK for the Brit. Okay. It is a premium, so it makes more credit and career XP. That's a given. And they'll probably add the bond making capability as well if they're going to turn it into a premium tank. If they're going to turn it into a reward tank, similar to the AE Phase 1 for Battle Pass, then it will not have the credit making capability, but it will gain the infinite large repair kit. So after taking a look at the stats, after taking a look at the comparison with other tier 9 heavy that do about the same job, it's like a STRVK. It's like somewhat of a 𝘌𝘈𝘚𝑡 with crappy hull armor, but gun depression and stuff. So yeah, it has about the same pin as the 𝘌𝘈𝘚𝑡, but faster aim time, not as accurate. Oh my god, DPM suck. I forgot. 𝘌𝘈𝘚𝑡 has garbage DPM. Alright. Oh, hull armor also suck, but not... Yeah, it's worse on the 𝘌𝘈𝘚𝑡 than the highly sloped 80 on the Chieftain prototype. So, give or take. But I will give this vehicle the same rating I give the STRVK, I would think. It's like a 5.5 out of 10. It's slightly above average, mostly carried by the reputation of the tier 10 version, obviously. So I still think it's okay. It's not stellar in most of the ways. I mean, M103 has better DPM, about the same aim time or accuracy, but this thing pump out rounds a little bit faster. And the 𝘗𝘈 is in the back, so makes going hull down a little bit easier to hide the 𝘗𝘈. So 𝘗𝘈 shrinks a little bit more compared to it at the sides. So also the hull armor is more reliable. Definitely more reliable than the Chieftain prototype. Yeah, upper plate is about, if you hit a undesirable angle, it's about 270mm effective, so you always shoot the lower plate. So the upper plate on the M103 is actually decent enough, and the 𝘗𝘈 is about the same size ish. It's all the way hidden in the back, so when you go hull down, it's more or less like this, so it's smaller to hit. But this thing has been buffed into a DPM machine. Okay, great. But yeah, I would give the Chieftain prototype like a 5.5 out of 10, maybe a 6. I mean, it's a premium tank. If it's a premium, I'll give it a 6 for the credit making capabilities. If it's not, if it's like an AE phase 1, then let's take a look at the AE phase 1. Practically the same DPM. 𝘗𝘈 size is about the same too. Hull armor, I think the AE phase 1 might have better hull armor, but we'll check. Slightly better. It's about 220 compared to 170-ish. So slightly better upper plate. And DPM, aim time, accuracy is all about the same. A little bit less penetration, but give or take. Top speed about the same, 35. Reverse about the same. Horsepower per turn ratio also about the same. View range about the same. So it's like a AE phase 1. Now AE phase 1 is not a bad tank, but it's like a 6. Alright, I'll give the premium version of a Chieftain prototype 6.5. If it's not premium, then it's a 6, like a AE phase 1. It is definitely not this vehicle. It is definitely not the best vehicle at tier 9. I say that with confidence. This is the best tier 9 in the game. No question. No question about it. Super fast. High horsepower per turn ratio. Good top speed. High traverse for the hull. Good enough view range. Good enough DPM. So with my crew, with my setup and all the fancy stuff rolled in, you can get about 2,800 DPM. Super fast to traverse. About 49 kilometers per hour top speed with about 20.66 horsepower per turn ratio. This is the best tier 9 heavy tank. Actually the best tier 9 in the game. Not even just a heavy, it's the best tier 9. Just how fast it is. And without all the equipments or field modifications, you can see that DPM is about the same as the AE phase 1, but it has dramatically better top speed and horsepower per turn ratio. So that's a big... Also the hull traverse. It turns around a lot faster. Alright. I did not notice that, but AE phase 1 has the best, or one of the best, track repair speed, similar to the 𝘌𝘈50T, but whatever. Okay, I mean, it's still about 6 seconds with repair skill, but yeah, this is, I still would rate this vehicle like a 9 out of 10, at least 8.5. It's like a 9 out of 10 for me. It is very hard to kill this thing, just because how squirrely, how nimble, decent enough DPM, no question about it, and it is. This is the Chieftain at tier 9, practically. Not the Chieftain prototype. That doesn't count. So overall, yeah. If it's premium, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. If it's just a normal reward, like the AE Phase 1, I'll give it a 6. But nothing to panic over, in a sense. It's not that scary. For now. I mean, they could buff the cupola to like 250mm effective. I'll shut my face. That would be a lot better than 120 or something, but for now, it doesn't look as intimidating as the tier 10 version. The tier 10 version has speed, mobility. Yeah, I'll show you the tier 10 just for funsies, but the reason why this thing is so oppressive is, look at the horsepower per turn ratio, look at the top speed, look at the DPM. That's the reason. Also, the armor is pretty effective as well. So, yeah, there's no way you can pin the turret front. Also has gun depression, so hides the lower plate well, and you'll be fine. But the alpha also carries this thing, so don't know why people want to spam gold shell when you don't need to with this vehicle. But then again, who the hell am I to judge? So if you have high horsepower, high top speed, maneuverable, accurate gun, high DPM, good turret front, good turret angling and stuff, then also good hull armor, don't forget. But yeah, it is one oppressive vehicle. This could be debatable. So is it as squirrely as a T54E2, the Renegade? If it's just as squirrely, then it might be a little bit better, but the DPM is not that special. Also the hull armor. It's also the hull armor, don't forget. Yeah, 6.5. Fuck it. 6.5 for the premium version. 6 for the normal version. Or 6.25, one of the which. But it's a little bit above average, but nothing to panic about. So, there you go, folks. The Chieftain prototype for tier 9. For now. So, we'll see what happens with the introduction to the actual common test, where we get to play with the actual armor. But for now, it's not as scary, quote unquote, question mark, exclamation point, I don't know. But thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul.